Alrighty, I hope everyone can hear me. Give me a thumbs up or a notification on the chat if you can hear me clearly. As you may know, last Sunday I had a problem, and so I had to broadcast a live stream, which I had scheduled with Mike Lee from Precisioncolors upstairs on my wife's computer. This is a computer that I kind of handed down to her because the one she had was just pure crap. So I gave her my previous computer that I was using prior to buying the new one, which was, at this point, it's like 3 years old. So I had a bad boot sector. I just basically reformatted the drive and reinstalled everything. That's all I had to do. And so we are back. I think we're back for a very, very long time now. What I'm going to do to make sure is I'm going to go ahead and clone this drive with everything that I have on it, and I will then clone it into another SSD and keep it on the sidelines if it ever happens again. It was some malware that got in, and none of my detectors could detect it. And so anyway, I hope that you guys are going to enjoy this tonight. Again, this is not a scheduled live stream. As you guys know, I only do this on Sundays. But you know what? I woke up this morning. It was really odd. I was thinking about
printers. I don't know why I was dreaming about printers. Imagine that. Anyway, it happens when you're this sick. Yeah. So as you guys know, of course, you know, the Pro 300 is out, and I already saw it being advertised on the Canon site, USA, and this is what it looks like. So it's looking like a really good printer, and I know that Mike and I discussed this. Let me go ahead and add myself here on the sidelines. Mike and I discussed this Sunday, and again, for those of us and you who have a Pro 10 already, I really don't see the need for anyone to just jump out and buy one of these for $8.99 unless in a few months or so they offer rebates, like maybe some of the camera stores that will be selling it maybe offer, you know, $250 rebate possibly. Then maybe it will be worth to buy, because it is an upgrade. It is an upgrade in a few regards. It has some pretty nice new features. It's got a built-in densitometer, I believe. And so we're going to go ahead and look at this as well as we can. Let me move over to the other monitor, and I'm half blind, so I'm going to have to get real close. We'll jump over to the specifications. You guys have all seen what this printer offers. So basically, it is a 13-inch wide capacity printer, but they added 39 inches of total length, which is, you know, maybe what, 15 inches more than the current maximum of the Pro 10. So that's pretty nice. No way to hold a roll, of course. You'll have to go out and buy yourself a roll of 13-inch paper. And those are pretty scarce, actually. Not very many companies are selling long sheets of cut paper. Okay. Red River has some, but I don't think it's going to be in the 13-inch category. Maybe yes, maybe no. You'll have to go and look. I know they have some 17 by something, 30 something inches, 37, I believe it is. And so, simply put, it is a Pro 10 on steroids. Same inkset. There's nothing new about the inkset. Same printhead. Again, I believe from what I have heard, let me quickly look at this. We know that it is the same printhead because it's got the same number of nozzles as the current Pro 10. You have wireless printing, advanced pattern print, which is pretty cool. They added that feature that is included in the Print Studio Pro plugin for your Adobe photo editing products. And so you'll be able to create what is referred to as a pattern print. And what that is the center image. It'll be like a mosaic, and the central image simply will be at whatever the output of the printer happens to be. And then you will have variations that you can choose categories such as contrast, brightness, and color. And so then you may end up printing 2 or 3 of these pattern prints, and then figure out which is your best settings in case out of the box, after all of your installation, you may not get what you think you should be getting. And I would suggest, of course, that you start off with your standard image or evaluation image. And then once you do that, you're going to see exactly what the printer by itself can produce. And you're going to be printing on a Canon printer. You're going to be printing using matching ICM. In other words, color matching, color/intensity manual adjustment on a Windows machine, matching, and then ICM. And then when you use a Canon paper, it will then link it to that installed matching ICC profile. You'll basically be printing through the Canon ICC profile. Again, it's a color managed workflow directly through the printer driver. So you don't have to worry about, you know, figuring out what do I need to set, what do I need to pick, you know, no. Just print with the driver, matching ICM, and that will give you an automatic link to that matching ICC profile. Now, that should produce a nice neutral result that's not too bright, not too dark. Of course, you're going to have to calibrate your monitor. because if your monitor display of that particular image does not match your neutral result, and it will be neutral, if you do things correctly, it will be neutral. So maybe out of the box, your monitor might be slightly bluish. So you're going to have to calibrate it with one of those spectrophotometers and bring it down to the correct white point. Okay, that has to be neutral, and your print has to be neutral. Your print will likely be neutral. So the only thing you have to worry about is matching your monitor. People say, well, why should I have to adjust my? No, your monitor is not going to be properly calibrated out of the box, period. So it has to be calibrated. And the only way to do it correctly, not using your very biased eyeballs, is going to be with a spectrophotometer. So just one of those simple things that everybody has to master. Otherwise, you're just going to pull the last, I got about 4 hairs left, out of your head, trying to achieve that neutrality. And that means you get what you see, okay? The output of the printer matches color-wise. Your monitor is not going to match it dynamic range-wise, because the dynamic range of the monitor will always exceed what paper can produce, okay? So let's quickly look at some of the more interesting specifications. So we have anti-clogging technology. What in the world could that possibly be? Cleaning cycles, folks. You see how they kind of name it into something really pleasant? Yeah, it's the same thing that the Pro-100 does, Pro-10 does, the Pro-1, Pro-1000. All of the Canon printers do this automatic anti-clog technology. That sounds like something that you would just, oh, please give it to me. Yeah. So, and by the way, for those of you who do not really believe this, I recently did a test using a vinyl material from Breathing Color. I hadn't printed on my P800 for about a couple of weeks when I did the canvas, their canvas, and guess what it preceded the print job with? A very substantial cleaning cycle. So it's not just Canon, okay? EPSON will do that. Now, the only thing that, Canon will do is probably stay a lot clearer as far as ink flow goes, because it will perform these pretty much after a couple of days, 60 hours possibly. We still don't know exactly what the timing is. Okay, we used to think it was etched in stone, but yeah, it's there, but we just don't know exactly what the actual timing is. But yeah, you can leave your EPSON off for 2 weeks, turn it back on, cleaning cycle, period. Same thing with a Canon. So that's not something that is just only pertaining to Canon printers. So anti-clogging technology, wow. Black and white photo printing mode. So that's the Pro-10. So far, other than the advanced pattern print, which you can access by simply loading the software, which is free, okay? You can still do that with the Pro-10. So far, the first 3 items, the Pro-10 also offers those. Borderless printing. Again, the Pro-10 also offers a chroma optimizer. Same thing. Disc label printing. Yeah. Contrast reproduction. I have no idea what the heck that is, what they mean by that. Paper feed skew correction. Now, that is something interesting that I was discussing with Mike, and we have no clue how they're going to handle that. It might be some sort of adjustment by the rate of speed as the rollers rotate, the initial transport rollers. So the way that a normal printer, let's just say, can detect any kind of skewing, let's just say, for instance, you're loading your P800 with a roll, okay? And I just did that a couple of times. It took me about 3 attempts to get it right. What was happening is that the paper begins to feed, and it will advance it several inches, like 4 to 5, 6 inches. It's hard to see because it's sort of hidden. But what it's doing, it is detecting one of the edges. It's actually looking at the edge. And if the edge, as the paper is being advanced, moves in either direction, the paper is skewed. So it will just reject it. Now, how it will be auto adjusting this, we really at this point don't know what they mean by that. So one way that you could do that is if two rollers are transporting the paper, then maybe one roller will sort of slow down to then counteract any kind of a skewed condition. Yeah, that could be it. I think that's the only way that we could figure out that could occur. Again, it would depend on the detection of the edge, and then make the decision one way or another, left or right, in other words, how the paper needs to be adjusted. And I think we're just talking about cut sheets here. And supposedly it does that on the fly. So that's really nice. Okay, let's go back. Let's see. Again, I don't know what contrast reproduction is. Photo printing, grayscale photo printing, index print. That means nothing to me at this point. I have no clue what that might mean. Grayscale photo printing. Well, we can do black and white. I don't know what that means. Square photo printing. So finally, I think all it's doing is introducing some kind of modes that Qimage already has. Okay, so again, to me, that really does not add anything to my table. So wrap printing, gallery wrap printing, again, Qimage can do that for you. And so, I already have a Pro-10. If I want to print gallery wraps, I just print it through Qimage. Qimage will immediately add those borders. It will print them either black or leave them white or any color you want. So again, so as we were saying this past Sunday, and we didn't want to upset anyone, if you already have 1, 2, 13, like me, printers, this would have to offer a lot more for me to go ahead and shell out $900 just to have it here in the studio back there so that I can show it off to you guys and demonstrate things that probably are not really that groundbreaking as far as what you can already do with the Pro-10. Again, I don't want to sound negative about that, but it's the truth. So I'm being honest. Number of nozzles, 768 nozzles times 10. So that's 7,680 nozzles. That exceeds more than Epson equivalent printers. Now, remember, you got 10 channels. And what does that mean? It's the same print head, as the Pro-10. So whether it is coated the same, because print heads have coating as well, I don't know. But probably is the same print head. Color resolution, that's dots per inch, not pixels per inch. Remember that. So it's the number of dots that the printer can lay down and interleave or dither. That would be up to 4,800 dots, and that's in the vertical position if you're looking at paper emerging. And then toward the right, so in other words, 4,800 by 1,200. That's max. So black monochrome up to 4,800 by 1,200 dpi, dots per inch as well. OS compatibility, it will work on pretty much everything out there. Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7, OS 10, version 11.6, macOS. Anyway, and also on Android devices, apparently, mobile operating systems. That's pretty cool. So those of you who, I was joking with Mike, those of you who don't care too much about quality, you want to print from your phone, go ahead and do so. Okay, that was a bit of sarcasm. I would never really resort to that. But if you want to do a quickie print and you just took a picture with your phone, you can wirelessly send that image to your printer and have a print made. That's convenient. Okay, that I will admit is convenient. Standard interface is high-speed USB Ethernet 10/100, which is pretty much the norm. again, and wireless and pick bridge and all of that. So ink technology, pigment-based Lucia Pro ink technology. Ink droplet size is about 4 picoliters. Now remember that this is a pigment ink printer, so the droplet size is basically limited by the diameter of the nozzle. So the nozzles for pigment printers, since they have little rocks passing through those nozzle holes, they have to be bigger. So the minimum droplet size, 4 picoliters, as opposed to say like a EPSON 1400, 1.5 picoliters. So, you know, the amount of detail those printers can produce, technically, theoretically, is a lot, you know, more detailed. In other words, more acute, more resolution, visual resolution. But I don't think it's anything you can actually tell with your eyes. Ink capacity, 14.4 milliliters per ink. Now, here's something interesting about the Pro 10 and now the Pro 300 cartridges. It'll be the same cartridges that we are currently using on the Pro 10. Has to be. The only thing they're going to change, of course, is the chip. So as Mike demonstrated to us last Sunday, these cartridges have a lot of engineering built into them. They have automatic little paddles that actually agitate the ink as you are printing. And if you don't print for a month before you print your next job, it's going to run an agitation cycle, which means that printed assembly is going to just wiggle back and forth for a couple of minutes. Those little paddles are going to move inside that ink bag, and it's going to then resuspend the ink, all for you. That means that the density of the ink will remain at a constant level and not increase by having settlement of pigment particles. So that's pretty good. Now, here's one big thing. I think they have, let me see, they have added, yeah, and this is going to be great. This is if for only this reason, scrapbookers, people who do scrapbooking, finally, square standard size. And by standard size, I assume that means you can print borderless. Okay, so you go to Michael's and you buy all that 12 by 12 scrapbooking paper, and you can actually overprint on that because this offers 12 by 12 printing. Okay, so 35 by 35 square. I assume that's centimeters, I hope, because you cannot print larger than 17-inch wide. I mean 13-inch wide. So again, oh, that's 3.5, 3.5. I'm sorry, I can't see that dot. Yeah, I got to get this close. Yeah, 3.5 by 3.5 square, 3.5 by 5 inches, 4 by 6, 5 by 5. There you go. And 5 by 7, 7 by 10. That's an odd size. That's actually a pretty cool size for your greeting card. So there you go. They have provided you with these extra sizes that normally you would have to create manually. 8 by 10, 8.5 by 11, obviously, and 8.5 by 14. What the heck is that? Never heard of that one. 10 by 12. 11 by 17, 12 by 12. That's important. My daughter would love that. Would love that. And of course, 13 by 19, A3 plus, and panoramas up to 13 by 39. So finally, I saw it written. Actually, it's 13 by 39. Everything that I saw before, it said that it was only 11 by 39. So now it's been cleared up. Maximum print length, of course, as I said, 39 inches. You have capacities of, in other words, weight. Top feeder, plain paper, from 64 to 105 grams per square meter. Top feed photo papers, approximately up to 380 GSM. That's some pretty heavy stuff. Everybody's asking me, can it fit, can it feed 300 GSM paper? Yes, of course, even more than that. Manual feed slot photo paper, approximately 380 GSM, and from 0.1 to 0.6 millimeters in thickness. So thin Bristol board can be fed through the straight manual slot. actually manual feed slot, not straight. So that's the one in the rear. Now keep in mind, when that happens, when you choose that mode, you're going to then click print on your computer. It's not going to print right away. Do not walk away thinking it's going to print. You have to then tell it, okay, go ahead and print, because it's going to sort of ask you, hey, I know you loaded it on the manual feeder. Can you go check to make sure everything is, good to go? And that's what it is. You could either walk up to the printer and click on the Paper Advance button. That's the second one below the power button, or you can do it in the actual computer screen. So they have added some other media, apparently, and we're going to go ahead and go through the list here. Plain paper, super high gloss, which is this paper right here, Pro Platinum. This stuff is amazing. It's like the prints look almost wet. Reminds me of I don't know if you guys remember what was that material? It was a wet lab type color paper. I forget. Anyway, it'll come to my mind. So glossy photo paper plus glossy 2 and photo paper glossy. Semi-gloss, of course, semi-gloss and pro luster, matte photo paper platinum premium matte, fine art, premium fine art smooth, and premium fine art rough. Other non-Canon greeting cards, photo stickers, printable nail stickers, and cardstock and printable CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray discs, and chlorine-free paper can be used. So I would go ahead and practice, of course, first with your photo papers before you venture on to something more exotic, like anything that you would use in the craft world, if you will. Now remember, this is pigment based, so even if you're printing on a non-inkjet coated material, you can, and it has no gloss, you can switch over to the matte ink by inserting it on the so-called rear feeder and then choosing a corresponding matte media choice in the fine art mode, and that will trigger matte black ink. That's really the only way. You could do it also with your common matte photo matte paper. That's going to use more of the photo black, and your blacks may not be as intense as you may wish. Firmware, oh, there's 33 supported languages. I'm not going to name them all. You can see them there. Again, you can look this up. Is the Canon USA site. Firmware, printer languages, Swift graphic raster, blah, 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 blah. Okay, nothing that pertains to us. Noise level, approximately 39.5 dB. I don't know how far that would be. And again, it tells you the paper that they basically took this measurement with. Now, physical dimensions, so close, it'll be 25.2 length, 15 width, and 7.9 inches high. With the trace extended, of course, it's going to be a larger footprint, 25.2 by 33 by 16.4. It's going to be a 31-pound printer. Now, I forget what the Pro-10 actually weighed. And again, we were discussing what did they do for, reduce the weight, the total weight. Did they replace steel parts for something softer like aluminum, lighter, or even worse, plastic? I certainly hope not. I certainly hope that they decided, okay, these parts that are made out of metal just add weight and are not structurally important. We don't know. We would have to have a Pro-10 and then a Pro-300 side by side, open it up and take a look and see what may have been replaced with what material. 1 year warranty, software included is the Image Prograph Pro-300 wireless professional inkjet photo printer driver and Canon professional print and layout software. That's actually pretty good. You can download that right now and install it. Media configuration tool, that's pretty good. Now, that's going to allow you, because it is the IPF series with the red line. Remember, the red line basically labels it as a professional printer. Okay, all of your Canon, products that have that red line, yeah, that means it's a higher level than the regular consumer level product. So I've heard that it even smells better. That's a joke. Okay, so for mobile printing, well, let's go back to the media configuration. So apparently it allows you to do what you can already do on the Pro-1000. That is to get a foreign paper, one that is not Canon, and configure it, okay? Thickness, ink density required. In other words, the minimal ink density required. Or you didn't know that papers require different ink densities? Yeah, they do. They do. So that will allow you to then configure that paper so that you're not over inking that paper. Okay, you're only using the required density of ink to produce optimal results. Then you take the surface, the thickness, the pliability of the paper, and then after you process it through the media configuration tool, you can save it as a given name, and it will appear on your drop-down menu under custom. So that is really, really important. Now, many really good paper manufacturers will provide you with the same file that you would then create with the media configuration tool. You use the media configuration tool to take that file and then embed it into your driver so that you can see it when you drop down. It's a process. It's a multi-step process. Pollen is killing me today, folks. Yes, indeed. Anyway, so general features. Auto paper width detection. So it has the ability to detect if you choose, for instance, to print on a 13-inch wide format and you put 8-inch wide paper, it's going to detect that and reject it. Auto power on and off. Again, I think the Pro-100, the Pro-10 also has those features. Manual print head alignment. Okay, you can do that manually, but can you do it auto? I prefer auto in most cases. Driver correction mode. I have no idea what that means. Multi-purpose tray. Okay, paper feed skew correction. Quiet mode. Now that's available in pretty much all of the current family of Canon drivers. Custom MIB, management information base support. Non-firing and compensation function. Maybe that has something to do with nozzles. But again, like Mike told me this past Sunday, this printhead does not have redundant nozzles. Okay, only your higher end machines do. They may have done something. Who knows? Who knows what they did? Optimum image generating system. Again, that's just fancy terminology for better output. Okay, and that's basically it. I didn't see anything about an internal densitometer. I did not see anything, regarding internal calibration. People are saying that that's in there. Let's look at the features. Those were specifications. Let's go ahead and look at the features. It's a nice video here. You guys can watch. I'm not going to play it because they'll get really mad at me. Stunning. And I mean, it says right there, stunning gallery quality printing. So you have 9 colors and of course Chroma Optimizer. Notice identical looking cartridges, just like these. So again, I am sure that the only thing that is different about them is simply the chip coating. So new matte black ink. Now this is something that they are claiming is a reformulated matte black ink, because before you were getting kind of like a dark gray result when it should have been black. Again, I've seen that. So hopefully that is the case. We'll have to see. Now, are they using the same black that the Pro-1000 uses? Okay. If so, you can take your regular Pro 10 and buy yourself a 300 and whatever ml cartridge for a Pro 2000. Use that black. Get it for the Pro 2100, and maybe it has that denser black as well. So that's good to know. I mean, this black is supposed to be better than the current Pro 10 black. Chrome Optimizer, basically, it just tells you what it does. Microscopically, it smooths the surface so that light can reflect without having any refraction, in other words, which will cause a loss of contrast also, as well as gloss differential problems. Beautiful quality on a variety of media. Well, I don't doubt that at all. Now, again, where is the so-called internal calibration? That was supposed to be one of the features. It's got an LCD screen or LED screen, and that'll be nice. You can, follow your ink levels, although this type of system is very inaccurate. It's not like actually visually looking at the ink levels on your driver itself. There is no switching of black inks. Of course, Canon never had you switch black inks. They're not sharing any kind of black ink channel like the EPSONs do, or the new 900, the P900 and the P700 will no longer do that because they are going with a 10 channel printhead now. Faster photo printing. That's a claim that they have as well. Versatile media handling. Up to 39 inches. Technology to keep you printing. Okay, let's look at this one here. With a nozzle recovery system, if a clog is detected in one nozzle, others will automatically compensate for it. That does not mean that it will be an unused nozzle that comes into play to replace that one. It just means that if one of them is not performing, other nozzles will be doing double the work. In other words, you see what I mean? They'll be overprinting what that other nozzle failed to print. Another nozzle will have to do. Maybe several other nozzles in that same color channel will have to compensate for the problem. How often will that happen? I have no clue. How long can you continue doing so? Okay, with a nozzle that's not performing, because that starts kind of a snowball effect. One nozzle goes bad, it overheats, and that snowballs into more and more nozzles. At some point, the printhead will not be able to continue compensating for you. Okay, this prevents print waste due to banding and reduces frequency of head cleanings. Let's see. Also enjoy accurate paper feeding with skew correction. I like that. Built-in sensors automatically correct for paper skewing. Yeah, I think it has to do with the roller mechanism, ensuring that your print will come out great each time. Yep, some papers are actually quite slippery and they tend to skew even if they started printing perfectly straight. All right, so I think, let me see, one more category. Seamless, intuitive printing workflow. Okay, PPL can be launched as a standalone application. All right, so that's just something new that they are adding, some kind of a standalone application for you to print from. Settings at your fingerprint, at your fingertips, that is. Large print preview. Again, that is the utility that you're using. Flexible output options, express your creativity with 3 layout modes. Okay, fine. Very nice. All right, that's about it. Again, nothing to do with a internal, calibration system. I wonder where that rumor started. All right, so, how would I, recommend this to anyone? Well, let me go ahead and close that window because I think we are done with that. I'll turn off my monitor. All right, so who should buy one of these? Okay, first-time users. Maybe if you had a Pro 100 and you want to jump over to some more exotic papers that require pigment ink to perform best, then yeah, go ahead and buy one of those. You'll have lots of good features. You'll have lots of extra paper sizes that are now standard so that you can print borderless if you choose to do so. If you're a crafter, if you are a book scrapbook person, that would be a great printer as well. Now you can do panoramas. Again, lots of new, cute, and awesome little features that will allow someone just entering this hobby, craft, or profession everything that you need to succeed. In other words, the last thing that any of us would want, any of us in the business, whatever, would want is for you to get into this and realize it's over my head. I just cannot handle this. And then you let your printer sit for months and never gets used. That would not be good, right? So if you are getting into printing and you're looking for an outstanding, what seems to be an outstanding printer, then sure, I would recommend it. The price point is a bit high. Now, if I saw anything to do with internal calibration, I need to read the one from England that came out a couple of months ago, maybe a month ago, and maybe there is something there about that, but I did not see that on the US Canon site. So again, I hope there is, because at almost $800, that's a bit high. That's a bit high for something without that's a bit high for just that red band, okay, and the so-called professional labeling. Other than that, great printer. Now let's talk about something else. But let me first, before I keep you in suspense here, we got 37 people with us tonight. That's wonderful. Make sure you hit the like button, please. That helps the channel and the stream. The streaming is a totally different category of YouTube. So if you want to help the algorithm, you know what that is, right? That controls every aspect. It's artificial intelligence, basically, based to promote our live streams. And I say our because it's not just my live streams. They are also yours. They belong to all of you guys who always join me faithfully. And I do appreciate that beyond the ends of the world. I mean, I'm serious about that. If you want to help the situation with those videos being suggested afterwards, because once we're done uploading, this is going to be processed into a regular video you'll be able to access later. You won't be able to interact with the chat, but you will be able to read the chat, actually. So hit that like button, if you will, or smash it, as people like to say, and that will help tremendously. So let's go ahead and see if we got about 34 entries here. So we have Tango admin, Armin. So he is here. Everything says, he says, sounds okay. Remember, I just reinstalled everything. Camera got reinstalled. Got my i1 Pro installed. I did not install the Color Monkey yet, but I will do that. I installed all my printers plus some extra ones. I reactivated some extra USB plugs on my monitor so that I can then add more printers. And so those are going to be then cleaned and brought back to operating conditions. I got an R2000. I got my Workforce 1100, my R3000, among also the R2880, and then the rest that you already know, all the Canon printers and the EPSON printers. So we'll get those back in line and begin to do some more work with them. All right, so Tango says the video quality looks great. Awesome, that's good to hear. Let me add this right here. Powerful Force. I think I've never seen you here. Nice to have you. I bought my Pro 10s before 4 months. My only complaint is the lack of ability of true borderless. What do you mean by true borderless? Of course it has borderless. It does. Only for certain sizes. You cannot print borderless for any odd size. It has to be listed on that list of standard sizes. So true borderless, I assume you mean that nothing is cropped from the image. That's impossible to do. That's really impossible to do with most, home type use printers. There's no way you're going to register the position of that paper exactly the same way, exactly the same position, so you don't get a little sliver. So if you make an image that's 4 by 6 inches and you put a 4 by 6 piece of paper, there's no way you can print edge to edge. You have to extend that image beyond that. I think that's what you mean. Lynn Quinn from the UK. Stefan Bradstrom, vacuum feed, maybe on the 300. Oh, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you my dream Pro 100. Vacuum advance on the Pro 300 does not exist, I don't think. Or does it? Again, I only went by the specs that were officially posted on the Canon site. Even the Pro 1000, it has a vacuum assisted advance. It's not perfect. It's not going to hold down a very highly curly paper flat. I mean, it's always going to be, it's going to help the situation, but it's not going to, solve it completely. But that would be good. I went to see Canon and Epson. This is David Hunter, New York City. I went to see Canon and Epson offers in home servicing and repairs. I live in New York City. I can't find anyone to repair my printer. So frustrating. What's wrong? Please share with us what's wrong. Again, we're in a situation right now where you just cannot, I was going to take my computer over to not CompUSA, they're gone, Micro Center, and they told me it's going to be 19 days before they can even look at it. I turned around and went back home and said, okay, I'll do it myself. And what I did was I ordered USB bootable version of Windows Home. Boom, it was instant. What about the new Canon cloud system with a print from camera to printer? Again, I always have to edit my images. I would never consider going directly from my phone or my camera to the printer. Some of the older printers even have a USB slot or a slot for your SD cards. And again, I wouldn't do that because I want to edit them. So unless you're in a bind and you have to immediately print something. But again, that is just one of those features that just does not interest me too much, because I'm more of a step-by-step type guy. Gerner Larson from Denmark. All righty. What about printing on canvas? It can probably handle that. You may have some problems feeding it. I've done it even on the Pro 100. I've done it with glossy canvas from Breathing Color. It was fabulous, just fabulous, using Precisioncolors ink. Yeah, not even OEM. It came out gorgeous on the Pro 100. 43 pounds for the Pro 10. Okay, so that's, what was that? 30 something pounds. So somewhere they lost some weight. Okay, and I hope it wasn't something structural. I do hope that. I wonder if the 300 uses the same ink type. Yeah, it'll be the same ink set, same colors, except for the matte black. They claim it is denser. I don't know whether the ink itself is actually denser. Okay, the only way they can do that is to increase the amount of pigment in it. Okay, we're going to get into that in a second. I'm going to give you my dream Pro 100 update. If I had a magic lamp from Aladdin, I would rub it, and this is what I would like to have. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Is it auto for print head alignments? It is auto. Okay, so they said that it had manual also. So that's interesting, because I don't know if the Canon Pro 10 has a manual head alignment where you have to actually look at the little printed squares and look for any kind of banding, and then choose the number of the patch that has 0 banding, and then you manually enter that. The auto head alignment, you should always print on a glossy paper so that you don't have any problems with the sensors reading the actual little patches, because if you use regular plain paper, you have some ink bleed, and that little minor band might actually blend together, and the sensor thinks it's not banding. Okay, so glossy paper will have a lot less so-called dot gain, and the sensor can read it better. So This is a case where you do have to waste some relatively better paper when you perform these setup type test prints. Running costs, how does it compare to EPSON? Well, keep in mind that a letter size print, like if you print a standard image, that's a really good one because the histogram is pretty even all the way across. So it's like a perfect 50% density print. Not too light, not too dark, just right. You print it edge to edge, it should use about maybe 1.5 to 2 ml. So you figure what you're getting in a cartridge. In a Pro 100, you cannot use all your ink. You're going to end up with 3 ml even when the cartridge is declared empty. Okay, keep that in mind. With the Pro 10, you can indeed go to an empty air bladder, empty, not air, ink bladder. So you're pretty much going to use just about all your ink. So 14.4 ml of ink. So figure out what it costs for one cartridge and cost per ml, and then plan on 2 ml per print total. Okay, that's total combined amount of ink. It's going to be highly different levels. Okay, you're not going to use all your inks exactly at the same level. It's going to be drastically different. I call it the domino effect. DLS photography. Greetings. Did I miss it? Has Jose mentioned anything on the replaceable waste reservoir? It does not have one. No, 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 no. Maybe the EPSONs do, but not the Canon. That's part of one of my wishes, okay? But I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah, definitely nothing that was, that I could read on that description. Maybe if it does have one, I am not aware of it. Eddie Lagos, don't forget to thumbs up, everyone. Yes, come on, folks. Hit that thumbs up. We got 36 crazy people here tonight. You have nothing better to do. Yeah, I know. I appreciate that, though. I'm telling you. Last night I was watching a drone live stream for an hour and a half, and stayed up too late, and I woke up tired. But anyway, that's how you support your YouTubers, your friends that are part of the whole community. Gerner Larson, it will be interesting to see when it can use second-party inks. Yeah. Let me explain something about Canon, okay, as opposed to EPSON. Because of the lawsuits that have been filed and won, by the way. I remember EPSON got sued because cartridges were declared empty when they had ink in them. And so somebody actually won that. I don't know how they did it, but they did. So Canon will allow you to commit printer by allowing you to disable ink monitoring. Yes, you cannot do that with EPSON. So by disabling ink monitoring after it tells you it's empty, you can squeeze a couple more prints. I would not recommend you do that, especially if you're refilling your Pro 100 or your current Pro 10. Why bother? Just fill them when they're low, especially Pro 100. I always say that. Keep that sponge saturated. The minute that liquid chamber has no more ink to compensate for the ink being used, top it off. Reset it, top it off. That way that sponge never absorbs air, okay? That will keep your cartridges performing efficiently, okay, and not full of air. You don't want air, you want ink. You want nothing but liquid in there. So they allow you to do that. So here's what happens. And by the way, thank you so much. Look at that. Wow. Thank you so much, my friend. I will come back and address you in a minute. Here's what happens. The EPSON printers, especially everything now that is new, basically all of the SureColor family, especially the large format ones, and I think accepting the P400 and the P600, I cannot at all count on the P700 and P900 to not be locked. By locked, I mean that when you load an original cartridge into your P800 or P900, it's going to, let's see, what kind of ink is this? Matte black. So we have matte black. That matte black on that chip is going to have a specific code or address. Okay, call it a phone number. It's a very, very large phone number with many, many digits and letters. Okay, so every matte black cartridge chip will have a different ID number, identification code. So it's like we all have different, telephone numbers. So EPSON needs to see a different ID code for matte black. If I can find a way to reset that chip, it's going to see it as, uh-oh, it's full. Wait a minute, how can that be? It's the same ID code. Uh-oh, you're trying to cheat me. Reject. It's going to reject it. It needs to see that, yeah, it is full, but oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's okay. That's a different chip. That's a different matte black chip, not the same one we recorded in our internal memory. Canon doesn't care. Canon doesn't care. That's why Pro-1000 single-use chips, they're all at full level. That's a read-write, okay? And the ID code for yellow or red or blue are all identical, okay? So Canon doesn't care. Canon will not reject that chip just because it sees it as being full, having the same ID code number for that particular color. It doesn't care, okay? That's the difference. Now, are we going to see a way to refill? Yeah, probably. Someone would have to create single-use chips, okay? Will Red Setter, this company, this is the Pro-10 CLI or PGI 72 resetter. Will Red Setter jump in? Mike Lee knows the Red Setter people, knows the engineer that works for Red Setter, and he's going to talk to them and see what their thinking is. So if the Pro 300 becomes popular enough to warrant them spending all kinds of time and money and effort to try to develop a resetter, then maybe. Remember, the cartridges are going to be the easiest cartridges in the world to refill. All you do is take this off and dribble ink from a bottle like this. Drip, 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 drip until it weighs 32 grams. Done. Of course, you do that before you reset. After you reset, I mean. Sorry. Reset first and then perform your refill. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting question. If not, if there is no resetter, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult, okay? You will have to buy single-use chips, and you will have to install them yourself. It's not an easy task, okay? Not an easy task. All right. Let's talk about, let me see what else we got here. Let's see what else we got here. So, what is the largest it can print again? 13 by 39. 13 by 39 inches. Is that going to be a standard size? I don't think so. So no borderless. It'll have to be a bordered print. Michael Bishop, what's up, brother? All right. Nice to have you, man. Steve Bloom says, surprising Canon does not list canvas as an option. The Pro-10 does. You know what? Again, don't take that even from the Canon side as the absolute total list of features. I think there's more. The driver may indeed contain a canvas mode. It has to. It has to. I mean, you're dealing with a pigment ink printer that has black, matte black ink. Okay. Hello. Yeah, it should have it. All right. So let's look at iShootU. Donated $5 via Super Chat. Thank you so much. I want to buy a used Pro 100. The post say used a couple of times, will that mess up the print heads? What should I look for? Well, ideally, but probably not possible, would be for you to be able to test it before you buy it. That involves running it and printing at least a nozzle check, and make sure that you get, let me see if I have one here handy. I still haven't cleaned up after my fiasco here with the computer, so I got a lot of stuff laying around here. It has to look like this. So this is for the Pro 100. So you have 8 color bands. They all have to be full, top to bottom, solid. No gaps, no nothing. Okay? If you do have a little gap, you will have to run a cleaning cycle. Make sure that you have enough ink in those cartridges. That's about all I can tell you. And just hope for the best. Really, there's no way you can predict what you're going to get when you buy a used printer. I've done it, and I've gotten lucky. Knock on wood, my hard head. Marshall Muir. Hi, Jose. I'll stick with the Pro 10S. 300 is too expensive for the extra feature set. Yeah. Again, you already have a Pro 10. No need to buy the Pro 300. Okay. I would only get it if the demand out there, warrants it, that I should have one here. Other than that, no. Let me tell you guys, I use my Pro 10 for everything. Okay. My Pro 10 performs beautifully on whether it's just, I print checks on it. I print letters. I print, invoices. I print photos, beautiful photos. I do everything on that Pro 10. Okay. Some people will, because I'm using the Pro 10 for text and that sort of thing, is because it's so good. It just performs beautifully. And so, again, since I have lots of OEM ink, okay, from big cartridges, I'm able to fill it using OEM. Now, if I had to use, say, for example, the excellent inks from Precisioncolors Signature Edition set, I would do that as well. But I have the luxury of having OEM. So that's the only reason I am using OEM rather than PC. Not saying anything negative about PC. By the way, I had to add a pop filter here because, yeah, when you get old, you start making sounds with your P's and your B's, and you know how it goes. So hopefully that's been sort of dampening all of my P sounds and B sounds. I noticed that on some of my tutorials. All right, let's see. Yeah. What about an upgrade for the Pro 100? Well, let's talk about that. But let me finish here with this last comment. Placing a refill Pro 10 ink cartridge in the wrong place will trigger a warning. Yes, it will, because it sees a different chip. That's the reason. That is the reason. Okay, so you cannot buy a new Pro 100 anymore. Whatever is out there, Canon doesn't even sell them, as far as I've been told. Okay, so are they out of production? Very likely. Is there something new coming? It's looking pretty likely like it is. Okay, we have no idea what the heck they're going to add to the Pro 100. So let me give you my viewpoint, and this is after discussing this with Mike Lee on the phone the other night. I told him, listen, why would you want a Pro 100, okay, if you have a Pro 10? The Pro 10 can print, Chrome Optimizer can print on glossy paper, no problem at all. No gloss differential problems, okay? And you can print on all kinds of matte media due to the fact that you're using matte black. 10 channels, 9 colors. Again, why would you want to use the Pro 100? Well, he explained to me, and I sort of went, oh. So the term that I was trying to figure out earlier was Cibachrome. So Cibachrome was a color paper that was used to print transparencies onto. So it was like a direct positive type process. You didn't go from negative to positive. You went from positive directly to positive. And it would create almost, the paper looked like it never dried. It was just glass smooth. And that's what Pro Platinum is like. Okay. And so the Pro 10 will not perform like the Pro 100 can on Pro Platinum. If you like that look, that would be the only reason to use a Pro 100, other than the fact that, you know, dye inks are transparent. Brilliant. Okay. The layers, the dots that are laid down, nothing is blocking the light from entering and bouncing back off of that lower reflective coating they put on papers. You get a brilliant look. Okay. So rather than jumping over to a pigment ink printer, which is pigment is not transparent, it's opaque. How can light get past all those little particles of opaque material and bounce back? Well, somehow it does it. Somehow it does it, and we get absolutely beautiful results as well. But dye ink still has the advantage when you're using glossy material. So if you're never going to print on those fancy matte surface and rough surface watercolor and all of these artist type papers, Pro 100 is the printer for you. You will be able to use this gorgeous Pro Platinum. I wish I had an example for you to show you, but unfortunately tonight I do not. So what would be my dream Pro 100 Plus? I don't know what they're going to call it, but I think it's coming. You know why? Because again, the only Pro 100s available is what's left. It's what's left. Most companies don't even have them. Okay, most companies don't even have Pro 10 hardly anymore. Okay, so I thank my maker that I have 2 in box still waiting there. Okay, unused, everything, inks included. So it'll be fine. Not to worry, believe me, they'll be fine. So this August it'll be the 7th birthday for my Pro 100. Okay, so it's been a good producer for me. So what would I want? Think about it. The Pro 100 cart chassis is very similar to the Pro 10. So I would demand, of course, dye inks, but rather than an 8-channel printhead, bump it up to 10. And here's why. And we'll get into other physical and mechanical features that I would like. But let's just talk about ink. So with a 10-channel printhead using dye inks, okay, you have several choices here. Now, let me digress and tell you that a while ago, I'm talking a couple of years ago, Inkjet Mall had dye ink sets for pigment ink printers from EPSON, especially your 9-color, the K3 ultra chrome printers like the 3880, 3800. And what they had is dye ink, and they had, instead of a matte black and a photo black, of course, it's dye, so there is no difference. You had your photo black, and then you had a denser version of that same photo black to give you that denser look when printing on matte paper. Yeah, it would have to do that black ink switch, of course, but nevertheless, it gave you that darker and very dense black, because that dye ink just had more dye concentration in it. Okay, the black. So here's what I would need. I would need my 5 basic colors. Okay, yellow, light magenta or photo magenta, photo cyan, cyan. That's 5. We have 5 more channels left. So you could either have a photo black and a dense photo black, okay, red, green, and blue, okay, or forego the dense black and add a gray. Okay, think about this. Why would you want red, green, and blue? Well, the 9500 Mark II back in the day had green ink and also red dye ink, and those 2 primary colors did not need to be composited. Okay, in order for you to actually print red, you would need magenta and yellow in some kind of proportion and produce a red tone. The same thing with, for instance, um, green. You would need some yellow and some cyan mixed in some proportion to give you one of the many tones of greens that you could reproduce, by printing. So by having, just like the Pro 1000 has blue, just like the P900 and the P700 now has violet, which is really blue. Okay, blue is purple. Okay, optically blue is purple. Cyan is not blue. Cyan is cyan, and blue is actually indigo. Okay, looking color. So that would give you the ability to not have to composite green, not have to composite red, and not have to composite blue. I almost said glue. You know what I mean, blue. So that way, you're going to get a pure rendition when the demand calls for a nice pure red, a nice pure green, and a nice pure blue, and the ability to still have a gray tone to allow you to create very gradual tonal ranges. Now, what would they have to do to achieve this? Well, folks, they already have a 10-channel printhead. Yeah, sure. The nozzles are larger because it's meant for the Pro 10 or the Pro 300. And if the minimum you can print is a 4 picoliter droplet, so what? Fine. I have no problem with that. Then create a print engine to be able to handle all 10 of those colors. The gamut will be immense, okay? Immense, especially on paper like Pro Platinum, okay? Now, let's talk about mechanical. So again, I would want to have the same thing, 13 by 39 inches, or maybe even longer. As long as I can feed that paper correctly. I want anti-skew technology as well built in, okay? Now, I also would want a densitometer so that I can internally calibrate that printer. And lastly, and this is the big one, a replaceable waste ink cartridge. It doesn't have to be that big. Charge me $20 for it. Only hold maybe 150 milliliters of waste ink. I don't care, as long as I can replace it myself. If you replace those inks that are there, those ink pads that are there, you can come up with an internal waste ink compartment, believe me. And that would just, I would pay you $1,000 for that printer. Okay, I would pay you $1,000. Now, add some sort of roll adapter, even if you have to manually cut it yourself at the end, just like the P800. You can print, and then you print a cut line, and you physically cut it with a pair of scissors or a razor blade. That's fine. That's fine. Just give me some sort of mounting mechanism in the rear to hold, say, a 2-inch core, 13-inch wide roll of paper. I'll pay you $1,000 for that dream printer. What do you guys think about that? Ask away or comment away, please, and tell me what you would think. Now, in order for you to be able to pull that off, you would have to possibly not even have to change any of the internal tooling. You could possibly use the regular the Pro 300 chassis, okay, same printhead, and simply use dye ink, okay, instead of 10 pigment and of course 9 and 1 chromatomizer, 10 dye ink cartridges, and they could be either this style. Okay, they don't have to be this style. They can be the regular current Canon CLI-42 style printer cartridge. They could be that, no problem at all. You see, and then you would have to retool part of the chassis assembly to allow for a little internal compartment to come out. When the purge unit or the parking station, that has many names, the printhead sits on top of it. So let me bring my printhead over here. So the printhead sits on top of the parking station, and that will occur on a Canon printer after you have finished a job and you don't print anymore. So it's gonna purge away any kind of a buildup on that parking station, and the printer is gonna move over and sit right on top of it. There are gaskets around it. It's gonna seal itself. In a 2-zone type printer like this one, again, it's shaped like a figure 8, so it's gonna seal against that. It's gonna keep that print head from drying, first of all. Now, right below that is a pump, and it's one of those peristaltic type pumps. I think I said that right. And it has a couple of pieces of tubing, and directly they go into the waste ink pass. It is just like a standard dump system. So take that tubing and attach it to a little spigot of some sort that feeds it directly into a waste ink cartridge. That's what the Pro-1000 does. It's nothing really that fancy. Okay. And then if you must, yeah, put a chip on it, okay, and charge me $20 for it. And when it reaches full on my my LED indicator, I replace it. Okay, really not that difficult to do. Now, cleaning cycles, yeah, they have to stay. They have to stay. There's no way you can get rid of that on a thermal print head type printer. You have to have those because of the buildup that you generate when you print. What do you guys think about that? 10 color dye ink, including RGB, not just CMYK, but RGB. That would be fabulous. Now, if you do away with one of the light colors or one of the photo versions, whether it's magenta or cyan, think about this. The EPSON R2000 and the P400, they don't have light cyan. They have light magenta, but not light cyan. It doesn't require it. And they did that so that they can then use matte black, photo black, and not have to share the same black channel. The R2000, P400 does not share a black channel. You can print from matte media to glossy media on the fly. There is no switching mechanism required because you have 8 colors and you have 8 channels, period. That is about as cool as you can get. And now with the new printers, again, that's something in the past. But yeah, just think about that. That would be fantastic. If you guys want to comment on this, once this video goes up as a regular, the stream goes up as a regular video, go ahead and comment about this. What would you guys think? I hope Canon is listening to me. I doubt it, but you know what I mean. They hate refillers, so you know they're not gonna become my friend. But yeah, that to me would be fantastic. Now keep in mind that the green, red, and blue proprietary inks don't really come into play automatically. They have to be, it has to be a situation where a particular color is better to use that regular, you know, proprietary RG or B inks. Okay, it's going to always want to composite, but when it needs to use it, it's there to be used, and your colors will be that much more pure. Now, with the 9500 Mark II and the old 9000, the red and green colors did not come into play until you were printing on something that demanded it. Okay, something like this. So not all papers would trigger the use of red and green dye ink or red and green pigment ink on the 9500. It depended on the media you use. And so often people will say, hey, my green and my red is not being used. What the heck is wrong? Is it clogged? No, it just never gets used until you use a paper that demands it. So that can all be handled by firmware. So I would love, that would be the printer I would probably use forever and ever. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this tonight. Let me go ahead and finish this group of folks here, and then we'll just go ahead and call it an evening. We'll see you guys on Sunday again. I'm going to do a video probably before the weekend where I'm going to take you through, and let me see, I'm going to have to pop this back on, guys. I'm going to take you through. Oh, by the way, oh man, I almost forgot. Let me put this over here. Oh, why is it not? Okay, here we go. All right. Let me make sure that I got everybody. Pop filter's working well. Awesome. Yeah, awaiting stock. Yeah, that's the same thing here. So, and yeah, like I said, who knows what's happening? Alrighty, Pro 1 is a good printer. Pro 1000 would rebate only 1000, while new. Yeah, imagine that. The price of the Pro 1000 after the rebate is $1,000 net. That's a no-brainer. I get the Pro 1000 any day of the week. Northlight Images didn't have anything about internal calibration. Good. Then that's basically just a rumor that has been going around, and that's awful. All right, let's look at this a second. Guess what happened to me? So I received an email from New York Magazine, and one of the writers is putting together a list of 11 online classes that'll make you a better photographer. So mostly it's all about shooting cameras and all of this stuff. But guess who was chosen? There you go. And he should have used a better thumbnail, but anyway, that's fine. And then if you just click there, it takes you directly to my channel. There's a little write-up about me here. And so, yeah, this is very fortunate. And hopefully that will increase my viewership and the growth of the channel altogether. So, wow, what an honor. That's really good. I'm very happy about that and very much appreciative about that. I don't know if I said that right. It's my English. What can I say? Anyway, all right. So Northlight Images. Let's take a look at this a second. This is what I'm going to do before the weekend. Tomorrow I got to visit, spend time with Nathan, help him with his summer homework. Yes. He's got a lot of homework to do. All right. At least I didn't log myself out. Everybody can still hear me, I hope. I need to show you guys the site for the standard image that I use. Now, can somebody quick tell me that I'm still live and kicking? Go ahead and give me a quick post right here on the chat, please. All right, this is the Northlight Images site. So I'm going to be doing a video where I am going to go through each one of those categories and basically go over the meaning of everything that you see there, what each one of these items means and what they do and what you should be looking for when you print this image on your printers to calibrate them. Okay. Can anyone please tell me? Okay, everything's okay. Good. That's what I need. I need that assurance. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and go through each one of these steps here. That will be a nice informative video. Now, there's other images available, and I have a bunch of these on my Facebook group also under the Files tab. You can go ahead and access that. You can, if you don't do Facebook at all, you can download it from this site right here. And I'll go ahead and post this for you guys on the chat. Of course, that'll be for you folks that do not do Facebook, and there are some of you who do not. So again, make that your priority to get that image, and this is what you're going to be using to verify that your printer is printing correctly, whether you just installed it or down the road a couple of months. If you see something odd, like a change in your color balance, print that image again, please, and use a Canon paper if it's on a Canon printer, or an EPSON paper if it's on an EPSON printer. That way you can just then choose that paper choice, and it will automatically apply color management with the correct ICC profile. You will get the best results. All right, I think that's it. Anybody got anything else to discuss? If so, I'll see you then next week again. Got to come up with some more subjects to talk about. And again, I think the analysis or dissection of the Outback standard evaluation image should be a good video that everybody should watch. And I'll try to do my best to try to explain what everything is about. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on a unannounced Thursday night. Actually, I did do an announcement on Facebook, and I'm surprised that we got as many folks as we were able to garner here tonight. So again, if you guys got nothing else to talk about, I'll go ahead and sign off. I'll give you guys an extra second here to see if anybody wants to discuss anything else. Anything at all. Problems, whatever. I just did a on-phone consultation, and the person was extremely pleased with the results, and I was able to then help him out. I directed him to some links and sites that he had questions about. So, and you know what he told me? That he just wanted to just talk to me. That's really nice. That really got me right here. All right. So if that is all, then I'll bid you guys farewell for the rest of the week. We'll see you this Sunday. Bye-bye, everybody. There'll be no music. I'll just go ahead and sign off. All right. Until the next time, happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.